friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and God2, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
From teen sweethearts to 80 years of marriage, God was so good to give him to me. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. From teen sweethearts to 80 years of marriage, God was so good to give him to me. There's something sacred about the way two lives thread together over time, like the weaving of a well-worn quilt. And every so often, God writes a love story that makes us sit back, exhale deeply, and say, "Yes, Lord, that kind of love." Laura and Billy Mays recently celebrated a breathtaking milestone, 80 years of marriage. Their story began in the small town of Greenville, Texas, where Billy, at just 13, looked across a youth gathering and decided right then and there that Laura was the one. "She's going to be it for me the rest of my life," Billy smiled. "I made sure nobody else stepped in." They dated throughout their teenage years, walking streets together and walking in faith. Then one day, Laura turned to Billy and said, what only a heart so sure could say, "Why don't we get married?" And they did. On April 17th, 1945, just before Billy shipped out in his Navy uniform, they wed in the oak-cliffed living room of a Methodist preacher. Laura wore a black dress with white trim, and fear mingled with hope in her young heart. Scared to death, this little girl had never been on a train or anywhere, Laura recalled. "I was a little country girl." Their marriage bloomed in the soil of small-town roots and big-hearted love. They made Irving home in the 1950s and raised their 3 children there. The entire family, now numbering 36 or 37, depending on who's counting, has worked in the family business. "Everybody loves one another. You just don't see that," Billy said. "I couldn't help but tear up reading their story because it reminded me so much of mine. My husband and I met when I was just 13 and started high school. We didn't know it then, but God had already started scripting our story. We've been married 26 years now, and when I read about Laura and Billy, something inside me whispered, I want that too. I want the years, I want the laughter that fills a room with kids and grandkids. I want the memory of walking hand in hand when our hair has turned silver and our steps slow down. Because that's the gift of love lived out. Decades wrapped in the dailiness of marriage, showing up for one another, choosing to hold on." Laura said it best, "You're just blessed that you have a man or a woman to be by you the rest of your life." Billy added, "I never have left her out. I always included her in whatever we do, and she includes me. It's not flashy, it's not loud, it's not perfect, but it's holy." And their shared Bible studies, they were part of their courtship from the start. Billy remembers it clearly and said, "She told me when we started dating, we're going to study the Bible." Laura, now 98, and Billy, 99, are waiting joyfully for their first great-great-grandchild. "He's just a good-hearted, loving guy, and God was so good to give him to me," Laura said. And oh, isn't that what we all long for? So to the woman reading this with a hand worn from decades of stirring pots, holding grandbabies, or clasped in prayer, may this remind you that love doesn't fade, it deepens. And to my own dear husband, thank you for walking with me all these years. I'm looking forward to every chapter still to come. Just like Laura and Billy, God was so good to give me to you.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
Hi, this is Chris Benjamin. I am the producer for the Salvation Army's podcast, Words of Life. Words of Life is a 15-minute weekly show featuring testimonies, interviews, and conversations on topics impacting the church today. Some of our recent and upcoming guests have been author and podcaster Nicole Eunice.
So oftentimes I think that when we thought we were about to see a new season, we thought spring was on the horizon and it's actually a long, dark winter. Is it possible that God is doing something in that season?
Author and podcaster Rachel Wojo.
I really believe God wants to use the story. You certainly don't do it for fame. You certainly don't do it for any other reason other than you really want to meet people where they are.
And on some future episodes, we will have author and speaker Zach Clinton, as well as a special appearance by Miss Volunteer America, Berkeley Bryant. Listen to Words of Life wherever you get your podcasts or visit wordsoflifepodcast.org.
Woman saves her late son's best friend's mom with a life-changing donation. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. A gift of life that reunited two old friends through grief and kindness ended up creating the perfect plan. A woman saves her late son's best friend's mom with a life-changing donation, and it will make you misty-eyed that there's this kind of compassion and kindness in the world. 15 years ago, Angie Lynchard and Mary Ann Carroll lived across the street from one another in Columbia, Maryland. Their sons, Jared and Philip, became fast friends, sharing adventures like biking, fishing, and catching frogs. They were practically inseparable, spending all their time together, Angie recalled fondly. But after just 3 years, the families moved away and contact grew sparse. Though their paths diverged, the bond between the mothers and the sons remained. Jared eventually joined the Marines, and life went on until tragedy struck. In 2022, Angie's son Jared passed away suddenly at just 23 years old. Mary Ann came by after Jared passed away to offer condolences and bring me a prayer shawl, Angie said. I noticed right away that she looked different from when I saw her last, and I asked her if everything was okay. That was when Mary Ann shared the heartbreaking news. She was battling end-stage liver disease and needed a transplant to survive. Mary Ann was placed on the National Liver Transplant List, a list that held over 10,200 names. Angie prayed fervently for a miracle. Little did she know she was about to become the miracle her friend needed. A few months after Mary Ann's visit, I saw on Facebook that she was searching for a living donor, Angie said. What ultimately convinced Angie to take this bold step was a powerful reminder shared with her husband, Steve. Steve remembered something from a missionary trip to Costa Rica right after Jared passed. A minister had told him, "Out of Jared's death, new life will be born," Angie recalled. When I heard that, I knew this was it. This would be Jared's legacy of life. Mary Ann agreed. It was as if Jared was telling her to save my life. Tests confirmed that Angie was a match. The plan was set in motion. Angie would donate a portion of her liver to Mary Ann, giving her the chance at a second life. As the date for the surgery drew closer, Angie felt a deep spiritual connection to the entire process. Jared has been so inspired by a sermon he heard years ago, on December 3rd, 2023. The sermon was called The Perfect Plan, Angie reflected. When I remembered that, I knew this transplant, this gift of life, was part of God's perfect plan for us. The surgery took place on December 3rd, 2024, at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, where part of Angie's liver was carefully removed and transplanted into Mary Ann. The transplant was successful, and Mary Ann's health has improved dramatically. 3 months after receiving the life-saving gift, Mary Ann feels as though her life has been transformed. So many pieces had to fall into place: their son's friendship, Angie seeing Mary Ann so sick, and the test showing Mary Ann was the match. It's like God and Jared had a hand in it all, Mary Ann said. Now, every day, Mary Ann is reminded of her two angels. I have a photo magnet on my refrigerator of Angie and Jared, my angel on earth and my angel in heaven, she said, her voice full of gratitude. Indeed, the gift of life passed down through generations of friendship, faith, and kindness can change everything. John 15:13. Greater love has known than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends.
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.
Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Randy.
And we're from Salty Saints Podcast. We're a theology and apologetics podcast.
To find out more, subscribe at lifeaudio.com.